This is Dr. Mariah White, host of Your Life Matters. Thanks for listening to the following broadcast on Public House Media.
Hey, this is Lee.
And this is Chelsea.
And we are the host of your new favorite sales podcast, See Jane Sell.
Join us every Thursday for a new episode where we will tackle the realistic world of sales and maybe teach you a thing or two along the way.
You can subscribe to See Jane Sell on Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, iHeartRadio, CastBox, and Spotify. Thanks, and enjoy the following podcast on Public House Media.
The Leadership Show, the place where leaders learn more about themselves and how they can shift the way they lead. Because when leaders get better, families get better, communities get better, and the world gets better. And now your host, Chief Leadership Officer of Shepherd Revolution, David Prosper.
If this is your first time listening to the Leadership Show, we want to personally welcome you. We started this podcast because too many of us have been hurt, underappreciated, and abused by unhealthy leaders. And we believe that when leaders get better, families get better, communities get better, our workplace gets better, and ultimately our world gets better. We're going to look at today's scripture. It's found in John 3, verse 30. He must become greater and I must become less. What this verse means to me is that great leaders don't create more followers. They create more great leaders. So what does that look like? Leaders are the bridge that prepare the way for others to come after. Now, in this scripture, John the Baptist was preparing the way for Jesus to start his ministry. So regardless of religious belief, we can all agree that Jesus transformed the world we live in today. And it was because a leader came before him and prepared the way. So again, John 3, verse 30, he must become greater and I must become less. I messed that one up, so I'm going to say it again. John 3, verse 30, he must become greater and I must become less. Now, there are two kinds of leaders in our world. Leaders who command and leaders who connect. I believe that transformation only happens when we apply the information. Our show is intentionally created to be under 30 minutes for working professionals, busy parents, and on-the-go students. So let me ask you this question. Have you ever been in an environment or a job where you felt engaged, you felt inspired? Have you ever experienced that confidence became contagious and you felt so good about yourself and the job was meaningful? If the answer was yes, you, my friend, have worked for a transformational leader. Their goals are simple. It's to identify the needs and to create a vision that everyone can be a part of through inspiration. So we're going to look at 6 characteristics of a transformational leader, AKA the blueprint. This is the standard on which we should live our lives to become transformational leaders. Number 1, transformational leaders keep their egos in check. It's easy to let our egos take over when we're in a position of power. However, though, in transformational leadership, it's important that the leader keeps their ego in check and it doesn't interfere with their teams, their family, and their organizations. Let me share a personal story. I remember when I was 24, leading a company, leading an organization, a team, and I was so young, but the people I was leading was old enough to be my parents and grandparents. So it was very easy initially for me to look at my position and said, I'm all high and mighty, you have to follow me. But I learned very quickly that was not effective. I had a position to empower people, not be in a position to disempower people. So number 1, keep your ego in check to be a transformational leader. Number 2, self-management. This is where a lot of people say, I want to be better at time management. We can't control time, but what we can control is ourselves. And transformational leaders typically don't need much direction from others, and they manage themselves well. They're self-sufficient. They're determined. They're motivated. And what that does is become contagious. Now, I remember working at one of my previous jobs, and after the training session, they essentially just let us go. They didn't come check up on us. So for me, I had to figure out what I needed to do. So I had to create this structure. Okay, this is a to-do list. This is what my day is going to look like so that I feel productive. And when my manager came back and said, what have you accomplished today? I can easily list off, say, I've accomplished A, B, C, and D, because I knew that no one else can manage me better than I can manage myself. So self-management is important. We can control ourselves. We can't control time. Number 3, the ability to make wise decisions. Now, there's this book called Ask It, and it says, in light of my past decision, what is the wise thing to do? Oftentimes we ask what is right and what is wrong, and we can easily justify either or, but we cannot justify what is wise. And what is wise typically comes from a gut feeling. It's an instinct. I know that this is the right direction to go. And it's also that same feeling when we're walking in a dark alley and it's no lights, and that gut feeling was just like danger is approaching, danger, danger, stranger, danger, right? That wise feeling that we feel inside, when we act on it, it creates more life-giving events in our lives. So transformational leaders will be transparent with their team, their families, their organizations about upcoming opportunities, and they keep people in the loop. Now, it's not a big practice for leaders to ask for suggestions and thoughts and opinions because it can alter the vision. But wise leaders, transformational leaders, bring people in. Now, I remember when I was working at one of my jobs, I had a leader who every time there was a major decision happening, he would always ask the team what our thoughts were, how we felt, and how would we like to move forward. And what I felt in that moment as, the salesperson was that this leader cared enough about my opinions to ask me my thoughts about it. So imagine what it would look like if we included the people that we serve on our decision-making process. And if we look in the book of Proverbs, everybody talks about Solomon being one of the wisest people on the earth. And he was wise, not just because he knew what was best to do. He was wise because he had many counselors, many people weighing in. So his decisions weren't based on his emotion, his feelings, because we all have blind spots. So bringing people into our lives so that we can make wise decisions is important. Number 4, lead with vision. This is so important. I just moved to Colorado Springs, and I remember this first snowfall, and it's considered a whiteout. I could not see anything. I was squinting as if I could see through the snow, and this just disrupted my driving. I had to pull over. But when the snow went away and the sun came out, I began to see not just 100 feet ahead of me, but I saw 1,000 feet ahead of me, and I felt more comfortable. And that's what transformational leadership is all about. They set realistic, achievable vision for the team so the team knows where they're going versus just trying to figure it out. It's like when you wake up in the middle of the night and the lights are off and you're just touching things, and hopefully you don't bang your knee on a chair or something. You're hoping you don't step on something that one of your kids left you. But it's turning on the lights and seeing where you're going, and that is important. The illustration I want to give is like when my family and we went to Denver and we were going on a camping trip. Now, my wife, she's very spontaneous and I'm very structured. So she didn't give me the address until we got in the car as we're going. For me, I like to have the address at least 5 days before. I look at Google Maps. I look at Google Earth. I like to see everything just in case the GPS goes out. So she gives me the address. I put it in the GPS, and then I don't know where I'm actually going because the GPS goes off the radar. We lose signal. And that was so frustrating. I felt like I was driving blind, and my wife was just like, yep, next time I'm gonna give you the address before. So what does that mean? If we don't know where we're going, we're going to be met with confusion. We're going to be met with frustration. And we're going to have all of these feelings versus clarity, certainty, and significance. So lead with vision is number 4. Number 5, adaptability. Bruce Lee often talks about be like water. Now, you can take water and put it in a cup, and then you can also take that water and put it in a bowl, and it would form to that bowl. It will form to that cup. But you can't take ice from a cup and put it in a bowl and they'll form, because rigidness versus flow and looseness and adaptability, they don't match the two. And transformational leaders know that it is important to constantly adapt to the markets, adapt to unexpected life events. Occasionally when someone falls through on a promise or a commitment, they have to adapt. And when we can adapt, we can survive. And then when we can survive, then we'll start thriving. I remember when one of my managers told me that we had to do a budget shift, and we would cut hours. So a lot of our full-time employees would essentially be losing hours. They would become part-time. Now, this was one of the hardest things as a new leader in a new organization that I had to do. I had to tell my team that I was cutting their hours. And the looks on the faces of the people back at my staff, they're just like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? I have a family to feed. Now my hours are being cut. I have bills to pay. Bills don't stop. This really broke my heart. But what I said in return was, I cannot change what was pushed down from corporate. But what I can change and influence is that you have a positive experience, that I will try my very best when there are available hours to plug you in. But we have to adapt together, and we're doing this together. So it wasn't me versus them or the company versus them. It's we are all in this together. So what that did was reassure that my team that we can change together. And there was a talk around the facility that, since we're doing all these budget cut, the production level will go down. When I inherited that facility, they were performing at 60% and everybody was full time. And then when we had the budget cut, we were performing at 90% with less staff. How did that happen? I don't have a God-given talent, but what happened was I reassured the team that we're doing this together and we have to adapt together. And when we adapt together, we survive, and then we can thrive. Number 6, be inspirational. This is so important. Inspiration, and my definition of inspiration, is essentially something that is pulling us from something for something. Again, inspiration is pulling us from something for something. And this draws us near. It draws us closer. It draws the best side of us. Oftentimes there's a lot of motivational speakers and it's phenomenal. We get motivated. We get psyched up. We're just like, whoa, yes, this is so fun. I can conquer the world. My definition of motivation is essentially like lotion. We put it on early in the morning. By the end of the day, we're ashy. We're dry. Our skins are dry. But inspiration it's a seed that comes from within, and it's born. And when it gets nurtured, it develops, and it's long lasting. So to be a transformational leader, it's important to inspire the people that you lead, because when we're inspiring them, it draws them near. It draws the best side out of them, and it makes your team more productive. And for fathers, it makes your family more productive and healthy, and it draws them closer to you. And when people feel certain, when they feel close, when they feel connected, they perform their best. So let's go over the 6 characteristics of a transformational leader, aka the blueprint. This is the blueprint. Number 1, keep your ego in check. This is important. This is humbling yourself every single day. Number 2, self-management. There's no such thing as time management. We have to manage our emotions, our thoughts, our actions, and our responses. Number 3, the ability to make wise decisions. Ask yourself constantly, in light of my past experiences, what is the wise thing to do? Number 4, lead with vision. Without vision, people perish. Just like a GPS, no one drives in a car and say, I don't know, we'll see where this goes. We have to have a clear vision in mind, because our vision is what pulls us forward, is what unites us together, and is what gives us clarity. And when we are clear, there's no confusion. There's only certainty. Number 5, adaptability. This is like becoming water. If I put water in a cup and if I put water in a bowl, it will always form to its environment. Number 6, last but not least, be inspirational. Inspiration pulls us from something for something. It is important to inspire the people we lead and not just motivate them. So next time, we'll be talking about how you can lead your families as parents, pastors, and anyone who's a leader in their home. You don't want to miss the next episode. I want to thank you so much for taking the time to listen. And if you have any questions, direct them at prosper@shepherdrevolution.com. I would love to answer any questions. Please engage. I would love to hear your thoughts about the show, and I want to connect. But I want you to remember, as we end this show, remember, if we are leaders to set ourselves apart, if we as leaders are to set ourselves apart, we have to start leading from the heart.
Thank you for joining us here at the Leadership Show. If you'd like access to additional resources and insight, text Leadership to 345-345 or visit theleadershipshow.com. And if you're enjoying this podcast, please let us know and spread the word by giving us a review on iTunes. You can listen to our show on iTunes, Success Radio, Spotify, Google Play, and the IB Network on Spreaker.com. If you have a question for David, send it our way at prosper@shepherdrevolution.com. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time here on the Leadership Show.